It's that time of year where human-like animal characters will be seen all across the Steel City. Pittsburgh's premier furry convention, Anthrocon, kicks off this Thursday, and a record-breaking 15,500 furries are expected to attend this year's event.
And you all may have the same question as me. What drives so many people to get involved in this furry fandom? Well, Elizabeth Fein from Duquesne University has done extensive research on this topic, and she joins us now to talk about it. Thanks so much for coming on, Elizabeth.
Thanks so much for inviting me here.
And so how did you get started in researching furries?
So my interest has always been in how people build community, how people especially draw on their artistic, creative interests to make meaningful connections with other people. So I moved to Pittsburgh to take the job at Duquesne. It was kind of my dream job, so I was really excited about it. And as soon as I got here, people started saying this word to me that I'd never heard before. They said, "Have you heard about Anthrocon?
Yeah.
Do you know about Anthrocon?" And I'm like, what is this thing? So, I looked into it, I found out, and then shortly thereafter, I got contacted by a team of researchers, the International Anthropomorphic Research Project,
Whoa.
Wow.
AKA Fur Science. And they are an international interdisciplinary team of social science researchers who have been working with the furry fandom and other fan cultures for close to 15 years now. And that's how I got involved.
So what have you guys found in your years of research looking into this? Because I think for people who aren't involved in it, there's still a lot of question and mystery about what draws people into this.
Yeah, so we are a team of people with all different interests, and we work on all different things. So, for example, some of us are really interested in identity, right? How do we figure out who we are?
Right.
And the furry community has a lot of young adults. People of all ages participate in the furry fandom, but the majority are at that age where people are really trying to figure themselves out and trying lots of different things to figure themselves out. And so one of the things that we look at is how does the kind of identity play that happens in the furry community help people explore different aspects of how they are and even kind of build on things about themselves that they'd like to develop.
And you were saying that for some people, like, they're much more at ease when they're inside a costume. Yeah. So a lot of furries, as you've seen on the images that have been shown here, have these kind of fursuits, these head-to-toe costumes. And that's what the furry scene is sort of most known for, but it's only about 20% of furries that have fursuits. But a lot of furries, it's not that, they're very expensive. Yeah.
We're short, yeah.
And they're difficult to wear. So it's a thing that some people do. But a lot of furries will develop what's called a fursona. It's a character. It's a version of yourself as a walking, talking human-animal hybrid. And they use that to kind of develop and explore different aspects of who they might like to be.
So is this something that, because you mentioned that a lot of the people who wear the furry suits are of younger age, like trying to figure out who they are. So do you see older people, or is this something that like you kind of grow out of, or is it something you take on forever?
Absolutely. So we see people of all ages in the furry community. Some of them discovered it when they were a little bit older. Some people have just sort of stuck with it their whole lives. Other people change the way that they participate in it. Sometimes your life is in a place where you can go to a lot of conventions, and it's really easy to do that. Sometimes it's harder to do that. Maybe you don't have the time or the money, you can't get the time off of work, and it's more fun to go to just like little gatherings in your own community. For some people, the aesthetic continues to be important to them, but maybe they don't do as much socially, So there's lots of different ways to participate, and sometimes that ebbs and flows over the years.
And what would you say about, let's say there's someone who just like loves mascots a lot. What do you think?
Hypothetically speaking.
Yeah, just hypothetically speaking. Look, what would you say that says about them? Does this tie into your research at all?
I think it says they should go check out Anthrocon.
Yeah.
It's really, we were talking about this a little bit before, but the artistry that some people bring to the creation of the costumes, but also how people inhabit the costumes. I got to know a guy once who his entire character communicated only through a little squeaker. And he had learned to make this little incredibly communicative. And the interesting thing to me, I'm a clinical psychologist, so I work, my main interest is in autism. And this guy was on the autism spectrum.
So he's finding a way to communicate in a way that was comfortable for him.
Yeah, and to learn those kind of nonverbal communication skills.
What do you think is one of the biggest misconceptions about furries? Because I think as soon as Anthrocon really started to build up here in Pittsburgh, there have been a lot of misconceptions, I think, spread throughout town.
Yeah, I mean, so some people think that furries believe that they are animals or want to be animals, and for most furries, it's more of a role play thing. It's more of a kind of an imaginative thing, you know, like you might see with cosplayers who like to, you know, dress up as characters from literature, but it's a little bit deeper because they create these characters themselves.
Yeah.
You know, so it's more of an imaginative thing for people, so that's, I think, important to understand. There was that whole thing that went around last year about furries wanting to use litter boxes, which, I mean, our research team thinks that's more of an urban legend. We haven't really been able to turn up any
prove that.
evidence of that happening
Little
anywhere.
Right.
So that, I think, is a little bit more of a story about what people's anxieties are than something that is actually happening.
Right.
Yeah.
So interesting. And it's so fascinating to know that there's research being done on this and looking into it. So great. Thank you for joining us today.
Sure, thanks so much for bringing me on.
Really cool. If you would like to check out more of Elizabeth's findings through the First Science Research Team, we're going to link you up on our website, kdka.com/talkpittsburgh.